call this meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting complies with the Open Public Meetings Act. Notice of this meeting has been published on the municipal bulletin board and the applicable newspapers.
Roll call, please, Kathleen.
Mr. Hyman.
Here.
Mr. Martins.
Present.
Mr. Tremor.
Here.
Ms. Cusano.
Here.
Dr. Hofstein.
Here.
Ms. Bradley.
Here. All right, do we have any resolutions this evening?
We do not.
Okay. We do, however, have minutes. I have to do them individually, so we'll start with the oldest first. For June 5th of 2024, these were make-up minutes. Thank you very much. Eligible to vote are Dr. Hofstein, Mr. Hyman, and myself. So I'll need a motion and a second, please.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All right, roll call, please, Kathleen.
Mr. Hyman.
Yes.
Dr. Hofstein.
Yes.
Ms. Bradley.
Yes. Next are the minutes from the 2/19/2025 meeting. Eligible to vote, well, Christabel's not here, so eligible to vote are Dr. Hofstein, Mr. Hyman, Mr. Martins, and myself. I'll need a motion and a second, please.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Hyman.
Yes.
Mr. Martins.
Yes.
Dr. Hofstein.
Yes.
Ms. Bradley.
Yes. And last but not least, we have the minutes from September 3rd, 2025 meeting. Thank you so much for getting them done so quickly. Everyone is eligible to vote. Roll call, please.
We need a motion. Motion to approve.
I'm sorry.
No problem. Just a second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hyman.
Yes.
Mr. Martins.
Yes.
Mr. Tremor.
Yes.
Ms. Cusano.
Yes.
Dr. Hofstein.
Yes.
Ms. Bradley.
Yes. All right, I have two vouchers in front of me this evening. I have a voucher for the recording secretary for tonight in the amount of $175, and also for the minutes from the 2/19/25 meeting in the amount of $100. So we will need a motion and a second to pay the bills, please.
Motion to approve? Both?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Hyman.
Yes.
Mr. Martins.
Yes.
Mr. Tremor.
Yes.
Ms. Cusano.
Yes.
Dr. Hofstein.
Yes.
Ms. Bradley.
Yes. And announcements.
Yes, we have several announcements. So on the applications for tonight, number 2, James Hughes, 280 Faraday Avenue, is being moved to the December 3rd meeting. No additional notice required, but thank you. Thank you. And also, number 3 on the agenda, Israel Birnbaum, is also being carried to December 3rd, no additional notice required. And number 5, Raphael Farhi, is also being carried to December 3rd with no notice being required, and the statutory timeframes being waived. Till December 4th. All right, thank you. So tonight we have number 1 and number 4 that will be heard.
Do we have matters
Yes.
for discussion? Is that one of the,
All right, we didn't get there yet.
okay.
We need to swear in our professionals, please.
You swear that the testimony you will give this board will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name and position for the record.
Mark Romeyer, Board Engineer.
Ernie Peters, Board Planner.
Gina Tumalo, Assistant Zoning Officer.
Thank you. Okay, we're not having any executive session this evening, so now, any matters for discussion?
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring one thing up. So on our agenda, at the very end, there's a link, and supposedly this link allows you to get access to all the documentation that we have so that the residents can look at it. So I went there. I think the last one is like October 2024,
When did you check?
this morning.
Okay, because if you go onto the zoning board website, it is to the right-hand side.
Yeah.
It is there. I can't
Okay,
swear
it's
to
not
this
this-
link. I was gonna
okay.
say, I can't attest to the link, but the documents are
But
there.
all the documents that we have here are
Right.
also available to the public on there.
Correct. So
Okay,
when you go
so
to that
I'll-
main page.
Yes.
Where it lists all the meetings on the right-hand side.
Right.
They are, it says applicants, and if you click on it.
Yeah.
It shows you all the documents.
Okay, so I'll look into that, so maybe we just need to change this.
I'll send Dawn an email.
Yeah, I'll send her an email and include everybody. I'll look into that. Okay, that was my only thing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and then just earlier today, I had sent out the draft ordinance procedurally. I'm sorry, I apologize, I had someone, my office, work on this, and there's a reference to the planning board that obviously should be to the zoning board. But I would ask board members to take a look. If you have any comments, suggestions, additions, please email me directly. Do not email the entire board, as that is an Open Public Meetings Act violation. And I will send out a corrected version tomorrow.
All right, so we have no administrative approvals on the agenda for this evening, so we're going to move forward to applicant number 1, Douglas Phillips, variance 3534. Mr. Phillips, you can come forward. Right to the microphone, please, sir.
Yeah,
Oh,
the podium or rostrum is the wrong way. Okay. Mr. Phillips, since you're representing yourself, I'm going to swear you in, since you'll be making an argument, but also giving factual testimony. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you will give before this board will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
And could you state your name and address for the record?
Douglas Phillips, 474 Toms River Road, Jackson, New Jersey, 08527.
Thank you. You may proceed with your application.
first, let me just tell you that the acoustics in here stink, so if you need to yell, please do so, because it is hard to hear.
Yeah, and I have an ear infection right now, so it's kind of, it's hard to
So
hear.
you're probably echoing.
Oh, it's horrible.
Sorry.
It's okay.
All right, so Mr. Phillips, why don't you tell us what you're trying to do?
Okay, so I have a farm on Toms River Road. It's a main road, 50 miles an hour. And we have had multiple people pulling over to the side of the road and getting out of their car, calling the animals over to the fence, things like that. I've had people pull in the front of my house, get out of their car and walk over to the fence. Back in December, a triaxle truck drove through my fence. So there's chain link fence there. I took the chain link down and I put up 6-foot wood fence. And then that's when I found out I wasn't allowed to do that. So we are trying to change from the 4-foot chain link to 6-foot wood fence. Privacy, safety of the animals. I mean, I trust my animals because we do a mobile petting zoo. I trust my animals a lot, but there is a big cow in that area with his horns. And, you know, if somebody comes over, tries petting him, he somehow pokes somebody's eye out with his horns, I'm going to be the one responsible, and I just don't want to be responsible for that. And I want my animals to be safe as well as me and my family.
Any questions, comments for Mr. Phillips? Mr. Romeyer?
Yes. The applicant has provided a survey of the property dated from 2018. To your knowledge, is this survey accurate and reflective of the conditions of the site currently?
Yes.
So with the exception of the fence that was replaced in the same location?
Yes, same location. Everything is staying the same as far as location. It's just I would be taking the 4-foot fence apart and replacing with the 6 foot.
Okay. Currently, I would estimate that the fence is 10 feet off of the road edge of pavement. Would you say that sounds accurate?
Something around that, yes.
Yeah, the survey isn't to scale, so I had to scale and measure that measurement. And it also is shown on the survey that the property line is right along the edge of pavement, which is questionable. But you don't have your surveyor here to confirm that.
Mr. Peters?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I almost hate to do this, but just so we have a proper record, I think what the applicant's doing is commendable. He's trying to make his property safe. He's trying to follow the rules. He's learning about the rules. He's here this evening on a rainy night in front of his neighbors, talking to you folks. My concern is whether or not, and again, I hate to say this, whether or not this is a legitimate fence. So, Mr. Phillips, I apologize. How long have you owned the property?
About 2 years.
This survey is from 2018, so it was from someone else's survey, correct?
Yes.
You bought, for whoever you bought it from, I guess?
Yeah.
Do you have any records of the fence being permitted by chance? Do you have a record of a fence permit for the property, for the area that you're replacing?
I would not know.
Okay.
I believe the owners before me owned it since the 50s or 60s, whenever it was built.
Yeah,
I
that's
believe
what
they were.
And again, I feel bad bringing this up, but it's being done for a reason. Hopefully I'll get there. If someone just put a fence up where they wanted to, and it's not in a legitimate location, I'm concerned about the board legitimizing something without reconciling the right-of-way along 571. As you look at either the small-scale copy of the survey or the larger scale 11 by 17, in the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see that Mr. Phillips's property's got an angle on it, and you can see where Toms River Road or 571 is. On the left-hand side, just behind that is a black square. That would appear to be the proposed right-of-way or the right-of-way for his neighbor, which means that at some point in time, the county, when they improved the road, assumed that there was going to be right-of-way widening. How do I come up with that without being a surveyor? If you look at where the edge of pavement is on this survey, it's a foot from the property line or the right-of-way of 571, which again, testimony is a 50-mile-an-hour road. If you're lucky, people only go that fast, right?
Oh, it's horrible.
So here's my concern. If at the end of the day, Toms River Road is meant to have a certain road widening, and this proposed fence, or this existing fence, without any verification that it was a permitted fence, if we legitimize it and then find out that in fact it's in what the county wants to do in terms of right-of-way widening or road improvements, now we may have caused an issue. Because without additional survey information, you drive by the site, it's 8 or 10 feet from the edge of pavement, okay? That's safe enough. There's some trees in the area. You know, I don't know how the dump truck missed the trees, but, so in terms of putting a fence up that protects his property, I don't have any issue with that from either engineering or planning perspective, or even a human perspective. My concern is that if the fence is in the right-of-way that Ocean County would have asked for if there was an application, and we legitimize that fence location, when the county comes in, wants to widen the road, they're going to have to move that fence back to a conforming location. So a lot of board members who remember right-of-ways, a lot of our right-of-ways are 50 feet wide. Old right-of-ways are 33 feet wide. So when we go and we create new right-of-ways, 50 minus 33 is 17. So on each side of the road, we widen the road 8.5 feet. So the 33-foot wide right-of-way is 50 feet. Here, Toms River Road might be a 50-foot right-of-way with a proposal for it to be 70 or 80 feet. So my concern is that where the fence should be. So, again, I hate to say it this way, if we can't prove that it's a conforming fence location, the applicant really has a bit higher of a burden to prove to the board to have it in that pre-existing location. Because the pre-existing location may not have a permit. It in and of itself may have required a variance. It may have been there, I don't want to use the word illegally, it may be there without a permit. So I just want to make sure we don't build something that at some point in time has got to get moved, and then Mr. Phillips thinks the town or the county's taking property from him. Does that make any sense to the board members?
Yeah, just one clarification. So let's say worst-case scenario, Ocean County comes in and says, hey, we need, that should have been right away, we need that space, you have to move your fence, right? The fact that we approved it doesn't negate the fact that they have the right to ask him to move his fence, right?
Well, the county doesn't have the right because they don't own the right-of-way. But I'm here to tell you, if this is an application for development, if he wanted to build a used car dealership in the back, Ocean County would have him widen the road. But at this point, because there's no application to the county planning board, the fence is 10 foot back from his property line, which is a not unreasonable location. I mean,
Right.
quite frankly, for a 50-mile-an-hour road in this type of zone, you probably want the fence back a little further. Fences along the area are generally back a little further, but Mr. Phillips didn't create this situation. He bought this situation. You can't wag your finger at him because he didn't do it.
Right.
But in fairness, if the board wants to be consistent, maybe we ask Mr. Phillips if he can keep a continuous distance off his property line. Similar to what we do in residential subdivisions. Where we say, you know what, can you keep 6, 8, 10 feet? Let's figure out a number, 10 or 15 feet off his property line, so that if in fact the county comes in at some point and wants to do work in that area, it won't be a problem. So,
Yeah, so just to get to the gist, I think, of my question, relatively simple. If Ocean County comes in, it's going to be on him, even though we approved it, it's going to be on him to move that fence. It's his expense.
no, if Ocean County asks him to widen the right-of-way, it's on Ocean County.
But he's got to move the fence.
No, he doesn't. Ocean County
They-
doesn't own the land yet.
They will have to move.
They will have to
Ocean,
move the
if
fence.
Ocean County wanted to widen the road and came in and said,
Okay.
the master plan, everyone else in this neck of the woods,
Okay, I got it.
instead of having a 50-foot right-of-way, has an 80-foot right-of-way. And we want to take that other 15 feet from both sides to make 50, 80. We're going to come in and take 15 feet on your side.
Yeah,
It's up to them to compensate him for it and move any of the improvements that he has.
okay.
I'm just here to tell you
That's
that
what I want to know.
this location of the roadway so close to the property line means that the right-of-way hasn't been widened to the full master plan width. And so I would recommend that we find a number or a distance back from the property line, just so we don't have a problem later, or quite frankly, just so Mr. Phillips doesn't have a problem later on.
Can I speak real quick? Well, the problem with that is I have a lot of trees behind the fence. So I would have to, then we're talking about me probably having to get permits to take trees down, or I'm gonna have to move the fence so far away from where there's tons of trees. And that's just gonna kind of eliminate a lot of my property that I
It
have.
was certainly not our intent to ask you to go take trees down. Question is, can there be a consistent location off the property line that the fence can be located, so that if in the future there's an issue, you don't have to move it again? And again, this is, the board members, I think, understand the technical aspect of this. This may not be a conforming fence. he may have rights to it because it's been there for 50 years. But quite frankly, I don't know if there's a permit for the fence. So whatever the board's going to do, you're legitimizing this, which is good. He'll have a record of it forever. In 2025, we gave him a fence permit. The question is, where should it be located? What type of fence? And how high? So I don't feel better having sort of beat this application up. But I just want to make sure that it's clear that if this is an application for development, there would be road widening and right-of-way widening associated with it. So if the board members have visited the site, and you say, hey, listen, I've been there, there's no place to move this such that we won't have to take down trees or we won't have to do that, then that's a fair finding. But Mr. Phillips was instructed by the zoning officer or the code enforcement officer that taking the fence down and putting a different fence up was no good. So he's here tonight asking for permission from the board.
Mr. Phillips, do you understand what Mr. Peters is suggesting? Do you understand that the county could come in, which
Yeah.
owns 571, could come in at some point and, require, they would be responsible for doing, but that your fence could be moved at some point in the future at
That's-
the direction of the county?
I'd be okay with that. I mean, yeah, that's fine. I mean, I was only replacing the fence where it was. That's what I was
Understood,
ultimately
but
doing.
You do own the property now, and if the
Yeah.
county came, they would be coming to you about your fence, and then you would be in the position that it would be moved further back.
I get that, I understand
Potentially,
that.
from what you're saying, trees would have to come down if the county were to come in.
Yes, I understand that, and I'm okay with that.
Through the chair?
I put my spiel on the record, and Mr. Phillips acknowledged it, so I think we can put that to bed if the board wants to. No surprise to anyone if something happens 5 years or 10 years from now. We talked about it.
Right, so we're all on the same page. Right. Mr. Hyman?
Thank you. So I had a couple questions. First of all, I would like to hear some of the operations of what goes on there to get a better understanding of what's going on in the FA zone, FA6 zone. That's, first, I think it's important for us to understand what kind of a request you're requesting and in the type of zone that it is and the operation that you're running. That's number one. Number two is, I visited the site in June 16th. It's back a couple months since it's been on the agenda. I noticed multiple 6-foot enclosures throughout the property in front of that home. So I don't think that there would be just this one fence that you would be needing a variance for. So I'm not sure if this, from what I saw there and the diagram that I have here, it looks like I'm missing some enclosures. I don't see all of them here, unless I'm misreading it. The other thing is, I did not notice any other neighbors anywhere on Toms River Road having a 6-foot fence anywhere near the roadway. So your fence is about 10 feet. I was able to pull onto the side of the road. It was pretty scary, actually, pulling onto the side of the road just to see what was going on, getting out of my vehicle there and just looking around. I did not actually go, behind the fence onto the property. But I noticed a couple of things when I was there. First of all, there's a utility pole, also about the same distance from the road. It looked to me like it's more or less the same distance as the fences, so it looks like the right-of-way or, should be somewhere around there. It looks like they're using utility poles there.
Are you talking about the utility pole by my driveway?
Yeah, right near there, so it's about the same distance in off the driveway
Oh, the
as-
fence is in past that.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, the pole's closer to the road.
So it looks about the same, maybe a foot or two different. There was a sign in the front, it says Blue Diamond Farm. So I'm not sure if that, requires anything, that's fine, it's fit for the application, as well as the antique vehicle there with a firewood sign as well. I don't know if these are all things that require variances or they're permitted. So if you would be able to give us a little more of your operation, we'd be able to get a little bit of better understanding of what you're requesting, what is going on there, and what would be permitted. Another thing is, my understanding of the FA6 zone is that there would be a 200-foot front yard setback, a 25-foot side yard from the side yard, and a 50-foot in the rear yard. So again, we're, 200 feet in the front yard setback. I mean, 10 feet is very, very minimal. To me, it looks a little bit dangerous, even for the animals. You mentioned that you had the fence knocked down from a truck. Thank God it didn't sound like any animals got hurt, but to me, it would make a little bit more sense that the fence should be put a little bit further in. That way, there would be no animals so close to the road. I think it's a little bit dangerous. So if you can just give us a little bit more information as far as the operations and,
Well, I could move, so say I moved the fence 10 more feet back, that truck would have still hit it. Because it was a triaxle dump truck. And there was a bus that stopped on the road, and he just drove right off the road. So that fence could have been right where it is now, could have been 10 feet back more, he still would have hit it. So, I mean, that's still going to be a problem. People can drive off the road. As I saw neighbor 2 houses down across the street from me, I saw a tow truck drive off the side of the road and drive right into their house. It's just a dangerous road. It's unfortunate.
which I just wouldn't think that you'd want your animals to be so close to the road then.
They're not usually up there. It's just fenced-in space. And, I pay for my property, so I'm trying to use as much of it as I possibly can. And I'm just using the fence that was already there. I wasn't trying to move it or anything like that. Because if I do move the fence back, there's tons of trees. And that's just going to create so much more for me that, I financially can't afford taking down all these trees to move a fence 10, 15 feet back. So that's why I was trying to use the same spot that the fence was in. And like you said, you pulled over on the side of the road. That's been my problem. That's why I'm trying to move to the 6-foot fence instead of the 4-foot fence. Yeah, I can replace the 4-foot fence with more 4-foot fence. People are still going to pull over. People are still going to try seeing the animals. I've sent them pictures and videos of people doing it. And, it's dangerous for them. They're pulling over on the side of the road where they can get hit. And so I'm just really trying to eliminate that and, just trying to make sure that I do what's best for me and my animals.
I got it. Generally when someone wants, a 6-foot fence in the front, the board recommends putting in bushes. That way it prevents, it gives people privacy and things of the like without having to put in a fence in front of the home.
Well, I'm not trying to fence the front of my house. It's off to the side.
Correct. It's frontage in front of your house.
But then I still need to do a fence and then also do bushes.
Right, but you
So then
wouldn't
that makes my
require,
expense that much higher.
correct, but you wouldn't require a 6-foot fence then. You'd be able to do something that's compliant, mitigating this issue, meaning, if you put in bushes in the front, then it wouldn't be seen from the road. Cars wouldn't pull over and you wouldn't have this issue. You'd be able to put your 4-foot fence a little bit further in. It would prevent all these issues.
Well, I already bought all the 6-foot fence too.
I hear that. That doesn't necessarily justify, putting up a 6-foot fence, unfortunately. I feel for you.
Ms. Romar?
Just if the board finds it useful, in the zone, the FA6 zone, there's a minimum setback of 20 feet for accessory structures, not that this is exactly that, but perhaps the board would consider that being an appropriate minimum setback. And although there are some trees, I think it's possible, if you say a minimum of 20 feet, without having to take down trees, the applicant could possibly meander the fence fairly straight through the trees, or at least 20 feet back.
Yeah, when I was there, I did see that there was plenty of open space for the animals there. So there are trees, scattered around, but there definitely is open space. I would agree with that. As well as the character of the name, but I'm just concerned because I have not seen any 6-foot fences anywhere near the road on Tom's River Road. Would you be able to elaborate on your operations?
Yeah, I do a traveling petting zoo, so nobody comes to my location at all. We go to them. So you have a kid's birthday party, we go there. You know, like Jackson Day, we would come there. That's pretty much what we do. We do pony rides, petting zoos. I rescue animals, so I give them a home. Sometimes they never even make it to do the petting zoos because they just don't come friendly enough. So I'll hold on to those animals, and then I'll rehome them. I'll find them homes that they're not going to, get slaughtered or anything like that. They go to good homes if they don't work for my operation.
Got it. And I noticed that there was, I think, 1 or 2 porta potties in the back.
Yeah, they're used for us.
That's for which operation?
Any of my farm help that comes, helps feed my animals, they have a bathroom to use.
You live on the property?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions, Mr. Tremor?
I'm kind of going to be devil's advocate, which isn't normal for me. But I did go up and down the roadway today. I know the roadway very well. And the fence does seem to be in the common line for miles with everybody else. I mean, there was actually some structures that were even closer. Like the pole you pointed out is in front of the fence, so the pole is probably at the common easement anyhow, so the fence is good. But while, yes, you're right, there aren't really any other 6-foot fences like that, in his situation, it might be a benefit to keep people from stopping to look at the animals if they can't see them. Also, keeping the trees there, God forbid another truck does come through, will stop the truck from going through and harming the animals. So while Mr. Peters brought up some good points, and you did too, the other way to look at it, it may be beneficial just to hide them. It's a great thing what he does, and it seems to be in the common easement. And if they are going to widen the road, they're going to pay for a hell of a lot more fences than just his anyhow. So I think that, while valid, I think that's something we could take on the chin, a little consideration.
Correct. So I know my concern wasn't so much, as far as the easement, who's going to pay for what. I'm not really too concerned with that. When the county wants to widen something, it's on them. It was just the general concern for the
Absolutely.
animals. If you were to put the animals, let's say, 30, 40, 50 feet off the road, they would be a lot more safe. You wouldn't have to, deal with this situation. And again, if you put up bushes there, again, it would take care of that issue. You can put them even closer to the roadway, and then nobody would see.
You didn't work on a farm. They'll eat the bushes.
Well, that's true, but if you have a 4-foot chain link fence before that, they wouldn't get there. That's what I was saying.
Right, but-
To take care of the problem for the general public pulling onto the side of the road, you could take care of that with bushes, and as far as the animals go, in my opinion, they should be held further back to prevent any dangerous situations.
But you're also taking away grazing land and leg room for these animals too. So, I mean, I'm trying to be fair to the animals. I do have a heart.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's what I'm just trying to keep as much area, usable land as I possibly can. And like the bushes, I get the idea of the bushes, but you know how big of bushes I have to buy to cover that whole length? Be a lot of bushes. Frankly, I can't. I have to replace the fence already. Well, I haven't done that yet because I was waiting for this meeting. But the old chain link fence is totally destroyed. My cows were out about 2 weeks ago because some of the chain link fence fell apart. It's so old. So the fence has to be replaced regardless. So with the cost of the fence, then I would have to buy all these bushes. And in order for me to have immediate blockage, I got to buy really big bushes. I can't buy like little 4-footers that are going to take 5, 6, 7 years to grow up, and then that's 5, 6 more years of people pulling over and seeing the animals. And I've seen way too many car accidents outside the front of this house already. I don't want to see more, and I don't want it involving my animals. So this is really just trying to protect me, my animals, and also the public. You know, I don't want to see an accident happen.
Dr. Hosty?
How many animals do you have?
I'd say close to 100, including like little bunnies and chickens and stuff.
And most people stop to see the cow, the larger animals, is that what it is?
Yeah, I have in the front field, the one that we're talking about, I have 2 cows and 2 horses out there right now. And the one cow is a big Highland cow with some big horns. I've taken that cow into the middle of New York City and walked him around. I trust that cow with my life. I do not want to see anything bad happen. Because that cow pokes somebody's eye out. Are they going to put him down? They're going to come after me. They're going to sue me. It's not worth it for anything. And that's the biggest area I have on my farm. So I put my biggest animals in the biggest area.
I
Mr.
should
Martins?
assume, thank you. I should assume we notified neighbors about this, and we haven't received any.
I speak to all my neighbors anyway, and they all love the animals, and
Yeah.
they came over for my son's birthday party, which was about 2 weeks ago. So they all love the animals. They all come over. I bring the ponies over to their kids' houses and do a little pony ride for their kids.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I'm-
well, yeah,
And
what I was
we'll
trying to
open
get
it-
to
We'll
was,
open it to the public as well once we're
okay,
done.
but we did notify his neighbors, right? That's just part of the procedure
Yes, that's part of the
here, right?
application process,
Yeah,
correct.
because my thing is the 6-foot fence, and as was stated, your neighbors don't have 6-foot fences, and so the look, you know, and the implications or impact to your neighbors of being 6 feet versus 4, that's one of the things we're concerned about. So that's why I asked the question.
I spoke to them. They're all for like me taking care of the animals.
Right.
So like my general neighbors that are all close around me. And
Okay, thanks.
But by having the fence so close to the highway, is there a danger to any vehicles passing by or trucks passing by?
They're
at all?
in danger now, though,
Well,
unfortunately.
the danger, it could be any place. The guy could go
Well,
off
no,
the
the-
road at any point.
But that's the point. You're asking if there's danger. Based on his testimony, there's already danger because trucks have gone off the road, people stop. Do you understand what I mean?
Okay, was it a one-time thing or it's happened?
it was once, yeah.
Yeah, just a one-time.
It was the triaxle dump truck, a bus stopped. And I guess he saw it last minute, and he was fully loaded. So instead of him causing a car accident, he drove through my fence. You know, the company paid for it and everything. They took care of everything they had to take care of. So they paid for the fence, you know, hoping that it doesn't happen again. But living on a main road, you never know. That road is crazy. 50 miles an hour, it's not true. I watch people 70 miles an hour drive past people all day long.
Okay, if the fence is left where he wants it, and the county comes in a year or two and decides they're widening the road, then Mr. Phillips has to take down the fence and move it at his own expense.
No, not according to Ms. Cipriani. The county
the
would be
county-
responsible.
I mean,
Yeah.
the county
Yes, the county will move the fence.
will
They'll-
move the fence for him, so,
Yes, if there are trees that have to come down, hey, I think that they would also be
okay,
responsible
so
for that, but I'm
it would be
not-
no expense to him if he puts the fence where he wants to put it.
Correct.
So he's just rolling the dice and hoping
He's
it
rolling the
stays for a
dice.
long time.
He's rolling the dice and hoping the county doesn't come in.
Doesn't come in.
Let me just
It
challenge.
happens to be a
that-
choice.
Yeah, maybe just challenge that a little bit. So I get that Ocean County comes in and will take down his fence, but they will also be responsible for putting a new one up and pay for that?
Yeah,
Really?
they will, in all likelihood, they
Right.
will physically move the existing fence.
That it's on them?
Yeah.
Okay. But anyway.
Yeah,
you
I
know-
said
You
I'd
know
be-
the risk and you're willing to
I'd be
roll
okay.
those
I'd be okay
dice.
if they come in and
Right?
they would move the fence now. So like the fence that's there now, if they came to my door tomorrow, they're going to come and move the fence anyway
Right. And
from
you're
where
aware
it's
of
at
that
right
and
now.
you're willing-
So why not, why not do it the same exact way? If they never come, they never come.
Right.
If they come in 5, 6, 7 years and they say, hey, we're going to move your fence 10 feet back, they got to do what they got to do. I enjoy living here.
It's your bet.
I'm from Middletown. I tell you, I can never afford a farm in Middletown, millions of dollars. So I enjoyed here, and I don't plan on leaving.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. If you could just step to the side for a second, I'm going to go ahead and open this to the public. Anyone wishing to come forward and make a comment about the testimony they've heard on this application? Seeing no one come forward, I'm going to go ahead and close public session. Board accepts us for discussion.
So,
As I said before, I would, if he wants to put the fence where he suggested he would like it, then I'm basically okay with it, as long as he knows what could be involved. It's his choice.
Yeah, I think similar. My concern was more about the 6 feet, right? We tried to apply the rule of 4 feet to everybody. I think you have a compelling reason why. I agree. Somebody's raising their hand. Let me, ladies first. Huh? Okay. Yeah, so that was my concern. I think you do have a compelling reason why 6 feet is better, if it's for the safety as far as, because the truck accident, that was one time, but you have constantly, I believe your testimony was, there's always people stopping. You don't always have an accident, but there's always people stopping to look at the animals, which can be dangerous, right? So I see that, and I see how 6 feet could help, definitely, right? Out of sight, out of mind, all that kind of stuff. And my only concern would be, the reason we have the rule of 4 feet, not 6, is because of the neighborhood, right? Because of the neighbors, because we want to keep Jackson the way it is. We don't want it to be Middletown or anything else. So that's why we set these rules. We set these zoning rules. And so that's what I was struggling with. But I think you did have a compelling reason why 6 feet is the right answer. So anyway, that's my take on it. Thanks.
Mr. Hyman?
So I still have concern with the placement of it at 10 feet off of the road. I think a minimum of 25 feet would be more appropriate, being that the minimum side yard setback is 25 feet for the FA 6-acre zone. I think that would be safer for the animals. I don't think that it fits into the character of the neighborhood at all to put it, within 10 feet of the roadway.
I'm sorry, you said side yard. We're talking about the front yard.
Correct. The front yard setback
It's 20 feet.
is 200 feet.
Oh,
No,
Mr.
that was for
Romar
an
said
accessory
20 feet.
structure.
Right, for an
An accessory structure, yes.
I
So this is-
understand. There's
right.
no need to raise your voice.
Sorry.
Thank you. I
Um,
was just correcting that. He said for an accessory structure, but it's 20 feet in the front, not 25.
Correct. So the side yard setback is a minimum of 25 feet. That's what I was referring to, not a accessory structure. Again, so the rear yard is 50 feet, the front yard is 200 feet. So I think, for the character of the neighborhood, as well as the safety of the animals, I think 25 feet would be more appropriate.
okay, know if there's anything else. Obviously, you've had the discussion, you have to determine whether or not they're, oh, I'm sorry, Gina. No, you go now.
Thank you, Jean.
I think that's appropriate.
Before we move forward, members of the board, I just want to clarify, and with the applicant as well, we revised the application twice, I believe, so I just wanted to please put on the record, would you mind, Mr. Phillips? Just please put on the record that you are seeking the front fence to the left of your driveway, as per this survey. It's going to be your solid 6-foot fence. We're also, in addition to that, looking at the 6-foot fence, which does need that additional variance for the bird aviary, because it's 6 foot and it is coming forward of the front building line. So we're still, because I have a couple revisions, so at this time, that is the total package of everything that you're asking the board for today?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Gina, could you say the second part again? I just was.
Sure, okay. In addition to what we have been talking about, along Toms River Road, the 6-foot
Were the
solid.
words that you said bird aviary?
That's how he had it labeled.
Okay.
So I was going off what he had stated.
Understood now.
Right, so I just wanted to put it on the record and clarify with the board that we're looking at essentially two separate requests. The aviary, as proposed, as shown, would require that 6-foot variance because it's forward of the building line, making it in the front yard as well.
And where the bird sanctuary or bird aviary is sketched on the survey, there's no dimensions. So the board, I would recommend the board, if they want to approve this, at least set a minimum distance from the front property line and the side yard.
Mr. Phillips, do you have any idea how far off the property line the bird aviary is?
No.
Or that you'd like to place it, I should say?
That's also not going to be solid fence. That's all going to be the wire fence. I want to put peacocks in there. I already have peacocks, but I want to build a very nice cage for them, is essentially what I want to do. But on the property line, there's tons of trees, too. And I planted bushes. I planted 40 evergreens down that side. But there's also tons of trees that block the front of the road and everything all right there on that side of the property itself.
Gina, if the aviary is the 4-foot fence, do we still require that?
The only further details I would need from that is it's listed as wire mesh.
Yeah, it'd be a
So
6
many varying types, and per our code, it's 2 types of fence. It's solid or it's open. Open meaning 2/3 open to air and light. So we would have to just ask for additional details on basically the spacing of that wire mesh fence. But yes, anything forward of the building line as an open fence is permitted a maximum height of 4 feet. So, I mean, I'm assuming you're not going to want to do 2 different size heights. This is an enclosure for an animal. You said it's
Yeah,
what,
'cause it's-
peacocks, right?
It's peacocks, yeah.
Okay.
And like you can't walk into a 4-foot peacock cage and clean up after them and do all that.
Yeah, I think that the question is trying to put some dimensions on the aviary and its distance from the property lines.
Right, so,
Okay.
Mr. Phillips, what they're saying is, so you had testified and gave testimony that you have, along the side property line, correct me if I'm wrong, please, you have plenty of vegetation, bushes, trees, all that. So
Yeah.
you wouldn't be seeking the bird aviary to abut the side property line? Which
It'll
is
go on the inside of those bushes, not on the outside of those bushes.
Okay, yeah, so it's not going to be on the property, it's going to be inset somewhat, that's
Yes.
cool. But what I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Board and Jean, we are looking at the very bottom of that aviary part that is forward of the house. We don't have any dimensions that you have submitted to us to say the bird aviary wire mesh fence should the board approve, is approved at 42 feet from Toms River Road. So when you come back into our office to do a zoning follow-up, should you get a variance granted, me doing the review would know that where you proposed it matches the resolution and we can go from there. So we're kind of just looking for more specifics. So the board is asking you, do you have any idea distance-wise how far it is off that side property? I know you said there's vegetation, so I'm sure it's
Yeah, this
difficult.
is
And
in-
off Toms River Road, what
I
you're
was just told to
requesting.
put this is not a plan for this year. This is a future plan. But I was told because I was coming for a variance, I can do them both at the same time. So I don't have 100% set in stone plan as far as the size and where it's
He
going.
is correct.
Mr. Phillips, so if the board chose, you could get approval tonight that would allow you to do this. and
Yes.
You wouldn't have to come back. But in order to get that approval, you need to give some specifics as to the location. And even though you may not have thought of that before, I think it's necessary to think about it now if you want to get the aviary approved today. Otherwise, you will have to come back on another application.
Yeah, so I mean, what would be okay for the property line as far as the front and from the side?
You have to propose something for the board to then consider it and either come back and make a recommendation or agree with you or make a recommendation closer or further. They have nothing to go off of because no
Okay.
dimensions were given, but he is correct. Board, we always do recommend, please request, whenever you're going to the board and you get a date, request anything and everything you want because anything deviates that, or if you want to come back because you forgot to add something, we're starting the process over from scratch. So if at this time you're not prepared to give testimony about the bird aviary, we can either remove it from the application, you can come back when you're ready to move forward with it, or
I would say the tip of it's probably going to be about 25 feet set in, 20, 25 feet, something like that.
From both the front property line and the side property line?
Probably, I would like to say 15 feet off the side of the property line, as I already have my bushes on the property line.
And that is a 6-foot fence, correct?
This would be a 6-foot wire fence, yeah, because that's what birds stay in. They don't stay in the wood.
Just one thing.
just without the further fence details about what the wire mesh is consistent of, it's just hard to categorize it as either open or solid. But it is a mesh fence. So it does pass air and light. We just don't know if it necessarily meets the criteria of our township's definition of an open fence.
I have a question about the peacocks you're putting in there. What do you think? How many birds do you intend to have? How noisy are peacocks when they get busy, particularly when they're in mating season? And how high can they fly, and can they get out of there? I seem to remember not too long ago, there was a peacock floating around town flying around town. Really.
Yeah, because people free range them. I don't free range them.
I'm
So
sorry?
I'm gonna have wire on the top of it too, so they can't fly out.
Okay, so it'll be fully enclosed, including on top, so they can't.
Well, yeah, I'm
they
not gonna
can't
do
get out.
wire on top, but I'll do a net on top, because where people go wrong with peacocks, if you put wire on top and a peacock goes to fly up, it'll snap its neck on the wire. So where they are now on my farm, I have 5 peacocks. Where they are on my farm now, we have a whole tarp system, so that if they fly up and they hit the tarp, they're not going to break their neck. But if you put wire over top of them, they can break their neck. But I already have the peacocks, so I mean, my neighbors haven't complained about them. It'd probably be more my donkey than anything, because he's pretty loud. But my neighbor fell in love with animals so much, he actually bought 2 donkeys off of me. Just by being around. Guy has nothing but dogs, but my neighbor fell in love with my animals so much, he was like, hey, can you get me a couple donkeys? I got him one, and then he was like, oh, he needs a friend, and we got him another. So my neighbors haven't said anything about the peacocks, but my donkey's very loud. I know that.
Okay, so when all is said and done, the whole pen will be enclosed, including the space above them, so they have to stay where they're put.
Yes, there'll be a net up top so that they can't get out at all.
The net will keep them in the pen. in
Yeah,
the
there's
aviary.
a lot of people that free range them, like I said, like they do with their chickens. They just let them go around the farm. But if you don't feed that peacock on time, he's gonna fly away.
When I woke up today, I had no idea how much I was going to learn about raising peacocks.
I actually have some exotic so like the peacocks you've probably seen around town are called Indian blues. I have some very, very exotic peacocks, like very different colors. I have what they call peach peacock. There's not many people in New Jersey that have them.
Well, I'm not going to be able to see them if you put the fence up. Well, that's true.
You can call me and come over. I'll show you the place.
Mr. Martins?
Yeah, I guess the question is for our experts. It just feels like we don't have enough information. So to our experts, as far as this, what we know right now, are you able to look at it and say, okay, this part is conforming, it's not conforming, based on the information that's here, or are we really doing an injustice to you because you haven't had a chance to review the details and form an opinion?
Yes, thank you. Anything between the house and the front property line is considered front yard area, so any 6-foot fence in that area would require variance relief. As long as the board sets a clear distance off the front and side property lines, I'd be okay with that, so the zoning officer can police that.
So just so we're all clear, Mr. Phillips said that from the front property line, the bird aviary would be at least 20 feet, potentially up to 25, and from the side, it would be 15 feet. And it'll be 6-foot wire mesh, and it'll have a netting so the peacocks cannot escape.
Correct.
So he can basically put it anywhere as long as it meets those minimum requirements.
And I guess just one last one. So, right now, the way it stands, if we say yes, we're approving everything. It's all or nothing in this application.
If I'm wrong, Gene, but you're more than welcome to come back and make a suggestion, or the board can say, pretty much give whatever conditions you so
Right,
choose.
so the application is for both the 6-foot solid fence in the current fence location and for the bird aviary 6-foot wire mesh, net on top, 25 feet off the front property line, 15 feet off the side property line. That is the application. You can approve it in whole, you can approve it in part, you can deny it in its entirety. And
Okay.
it really is a question whether there is a motion to do one of those things, if there's a motion for a full or partial approval, if you feel like the positive criterion, and has been demonstrated through testimony, that the grant of the variance would, where the benefits would outweigh any detriment, that it could be done without substantial detriment to the public good, and would not substantially impair the purpose of the zoning laws.
Okay, I would make that motion to approve as everything we just stated.
Yeah,
second it.
Try repeating it.
What exactly are the
Want me to
stipulations?
repeat it? I'll repeat it.
Yes, I understood that to be a motion to approve the placement of a 6-foot solid fence in the location of the current 4-foot fence, and allow the construction of a bird aviary out of 6-foot wire mesh fence with a net on top to be located at least 25 feet off of the front property line and 15 feet off the side property line. Is that correct, Dr. Epstein?
Yes, it is, thank you.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please, Kathleen?
Mr. Hyman?
So I am okay with the bird aviary setbacks, but like I stated before, I don't think that it's appropriate to put the fence forward more than 25 feet from the from the road. I don't think it fits into the character of the neighborhood, so I'm going to say no.
Mr. Martins?
Yeah, I mean, I struggle with the 6 feet, only because we've had, anyway, we've said no on 6 feet before. I do think you had a compelling reason on the safety, and if people are stopping.
Yeah,
Oh,
we can
and
hear you.
if people are stopping by the road because they can see that there are animals there, and therefore they stop to see more. If they don't see that there are animals there, then,
Problem goes away.
right. So with those circumstances, I'm going to say yes.
Yes, you said?
Yes. After all that, yes.
Mr. Tremor?
Yes.
Ms. Cusano?
Yes.
Dr. Hofstein?
Yes.
Ms. Bradley?
Yes.
So, Mr. Phillips, the variances have been granted. There will be a written resolution memorializing those.
Thank you guys very much.
But that will be at a
Thank you.
future meeting, hopefully the next one.
We are going to move on to applicant number 4, but before we do, we'll take a 10-minute break. We'll return at 8:15. call this meeting back to order. Before we move forward with Ms. Jennings' application, I inadvertently missed one of the vouchers earlier for the June 5th, 2024 meeting. So that would make Mr. Martins, Mr. Hyman, myself, and Dr. Hofstein eligible. So I need a motion. Sorry.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Mr. Martins?
Yes.
Mr. Hyman?
Yes.
Dr. Hofstein?
Yes.
Ms. Bradley?
Yes. And also, just to put it on the record, Ms. Cusano had a conflict with this application, so she has stepped down from the dais. Okay? Ms. Jennings.
Thank you.
And
Good
left the room.
evening. For
And
the
left the room.
record, I'm Donna Jennings from the law firm of Wilentz, Goldman, and Spitzer. On behalf of the applicant, as the board is aware, the applicant is here this evening seeking final major subdivision approval to subdivide property located at 225 Brewers Bridge Road and identified as Block 14101, Lot 21.01 on the township's tax maps. The proposed subdivision would result in the creation of 5 new tax lots to be used for the construction of 4 single-family residences, with the remaining 1 lot used for stormwater management and recreation purposes. In connection with the subdivision, the board should remember that the applicant had previously received preliminary subdivision approval memorialized by resolution adopted on November 20th, 2024, as well as a D5 variance to permit development of the residence at a density greater than that permitted in the R3 zone. In addition to final subdivision approval, the applicant is also seeking several variances that will be more particularly described by the applicant's planner. That testimony will show that both the positive and negative criteria exist for the granting of each of those variances. In support of the proposal, the applicant will rely on the direct testimony of 2 expert witnesses, Mr. Eli Halpert, the applicant's engineer sitting to my left, and Andrew Janu, the applicant's professional planner. I would just like to acknowledge for the record that the applicant is in receipt of 2 reports, the board engineer's report dated September 4th, 2025, and the board planner's report dated August 26, 2025. With that, I'd like to have Mr. Halpert sworn in.
Do you affirm that the testimony you will give to this board will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And would you put your credentials here on the record?
Eric Halpert, licensed professional engineer and planner in the state of New Jersey, and I have provided testimony to multiple boards and to this board previously.
Mr. Hopper, this board accepts your credentials. Thank you.
Thank you.
And if you could, Mr. Halpert, if you're going to use any exhibits, let's identify them for the record, and why don't you just walk us through what the applicant is here for this evening?
Can you mark the exhibit up on the screen as A1? Exhibit A1 is an aerial. The applicant is here seeking approval, final approval for a major subdivision to create 4 buildable lots and a stormwater and recreation lot as well. The aerial shows the subject property is located within the R3 zone, bordering on R1 zones. The aerial captures an adjacent subdivision currently under construction directly across from subject property. Additionally, there is a previously approved minor subdivision which has already been filed, that was approved by the planning board to subdivide what was formerly known as formerly Lot 21, to subdivide with the adjacent lot, former 19, in order to construct a shul. The applicant is here to subdivide what is known currently as existing Lot 21.01 into 5 lots, 4 of them buildable, and a stormwater management lot. The applicant previously was approved for preliminary, received approval for preliminary subdivision. We're here for major subdivision. The board had requested the previously submitted plan of 5 buildable lots be reduced by 1 to 4, and a stormwater management lot be installed. Anthony, could you pull up the plan set? Could you pull up the submitted plan set, Anthony? Could you go to sheet number 3? Thank you. The board is looking at sheet number 3 of the submitted plan set. It depicts the proposed subdivision with the improvements. The applicant is seeking to construct 4 single-family residences consisting of 10 bedrooms with a basement. The applicant has provided driveways sufficient for parking. The applicant as well is seeking and has received preliminary approval from Jackson Municipal Utilities Authority to connect to the recently installed sanitary sewer line and water main. Additionally, the applicant has previously submitted, together with this application, a determination by NJDEP that connecting to the public sewer is consistent with the water quality standards, and an application previously submitted to the NJDEP was requested by the NJDEP to be withdrawn, and there is no issue with any connection. Additionally, the applicant submitted a presence-absence LOI determination, and the applicant recently received, and the applicant will submit the determination on September 2nd that there are no wetlands on the property, on subject property. This was a determination received September 2nd. I'll go briefly through what the board had been requesting and discuss the stormwater and recreation lot. That is what the applicant has been asked to revise and what the applicant has prepared in order to request and receive the final approval. Could you go to the next sheet, Anthony, please? This is the grading, drainage, and utility plan. The applicant is providing a stormwater management lot. Any comments provided by the board engineer, the applicant is able to comply with. The applicant is proposing a stormwater basin, management for the roofs, management for the removal of the trees, and creating lawn area. And the basin is in the rear of the properties. There is currently access to the property from Brewers Bridge with a driveway apron, and the applicant would seek to keep that driveway apron operating in order to provide access to the stormwater management basin, and the applicant would be willing to pave with gravel a 10-foot wide path in order to provide access for a maintenance vehicle where there is currently a dirt road. So the applicant's intent is to have the stormwater management in the rear, maintain the current access to Brewers Bridge, which would provide access for maintenance vehicles, would be what the applicant would seek. Additionally, the board had been requesting to provide an area for recreation use, and it is sensible to have the stormwater area is in the rear, and the recreation area would be accessible from Holden Court. And I will get into where the improvements of Holden Court stand shortly, but the access to all of the properties and to the recreation area and stormwater management lot is from Holden Court as well, and it would be sensible to keep the maintenance in the rear and leave the recreation area accessible from Holden Court. And so the applicant would satisfy what the board was looking for in providing a recreational area. I'll go through some comments from the review letters to address some questions. In the board planner letter, there is a question, the board planner seeks to provide testimony where the installation of the roadway improvements stand. The Holden Court roadway improvements are part of a separate subdivision that is unrelated, that this applicant does not require, is not seeking approval for. Those improvements are part of the subdivision across the applicant's property. Those improvements are in the process of being installed. The utilities are installed, curbing is installed, base course is installed. The improvements are not complete. Surface course is not installed, lighting is installed, so the roadway is mostly installed and not installed completely yet. That is the status of where the Holden Court roadway improvements stand today.
And I'm sorry, if that's the access, what is the legal relationship between this application and that provides the right of access?
The intent of the Holden Court roadway improvements as part of a separate application is for that to be a public right-of-way.
I apologize. The question is, and we've sort of all taken it on faith that there's a right-of-way next door. Does anyone have any information that this right-of-way exists? It shows up on every map that's in the application file. Granted, the application file goes back to 2023. The lot to the bottom of the page is Lot 18. It doesn't show that it's a new right-of-way. It doesn't show on the 200-foot property owner list that there's lots 1801, 02, 03, 04, 05 on the opposite side of the road. Does the right-of-way exist? We can't create lots without a right-of-way. And respectfully, while I don't disagree that there was a subdivision application that was approved, there's nothing in the record for this application that says that that right-of-way exists.
Well, it is under construction. You can see it on Google Earth.
The fact that there's that there's
You
something
said
being
that?
constructed doesn't discuss or doesn't demonstrate the dedication of that as an easement. It just is something that exists in the world.
The
that belongs to
filing.
somebody else.
The filing of this map would be contingent on the filing of that
Yeah.
subdivision.
Madam Chair, they got preliminary subdivision. They're here for final. I think before this board grants final, we should make sure they have access to a public right-of-way. If the board wants to make it a condition of final, that's fine. We didn't get it preliminary, we didn't get it at final, it's going to be a condition of final. I think it's got to be a big condition. You can't create lots without a right-of-way. Otherwise, this lot just has a common property line that's 1,000 feet long between Lot 18 and Lot 21.
Yeah, no, we would agree with that condition.
The applicant agrees to that, that certainly is the intent. This only can be filed.
I'm sorry, not trying to be difficult here, but not having been here for the Holden Court application. So it's intended to be a public right-of-way, but it then would have to be accepted by the township.
Correct.
So there are multiple steps.
Multiple steps apparently still need to take place. It is in the process, and it is not related to this application. It would be, this application would only be allowed to be filed once the right-of-way is created, once that subdivision map has been filed.
But it's got to be the subdivision map has been filed and the dedication has been accepted by the township. Correct.
And what happens if it's not?
Yeah, that's the question.
Then they don't have any access.
So who would be responsible to create access if the other builder doesn't complete the job?
They would have
If
to
the board is
redesign
granting
this
approval with a
access.
condition and the condition is not met, then the subdivision map will not be able to be filed.
But I think more importantly, forget the subdivision map being filed.
Right.
The application is void. If there's not a right-of-way, we can't approve new lots without a right-of-way. We did this at preliminary, now we're here at final, and we still don't have an answer. So I think it needs to be clear in the resolution that this information is necessary for them to have a valid approval. Forget filing the map.
We wouldn't file the map until, obviously, the other side was filed and existed. That would be a condition of the approval.
Can I just ask you a question? So legally, because there's no right-of-way, is this really final then? Can we deem this final if there's no right-of-way in there?
It
'Cause
would
that's
be
what I'm
an
hearing.
entirely contingent approval, so obviously there are always conditions, but it would be, in this case, a void, because in
Yeah,
the
Mr.
absence
Martins?
of that,
Maybe it's just terminology, yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
Mr.
If you
Martins?
call it final, it's final, but with conditions, so now it's not really final. Yeah.
yes, that's
Mr.
accurate.
Martins,
Yeah,
we're
but
not
many
aware of any,
applications are final with conditions.
Right,
not
this
aware
is
of
just
anything that would-
This is just a big condition.
we're not aware of anything that would limit their ability to do it, or the fact, or the testimony that's been given that there is a right-of-way and that it's under construction. We just don't have it as part of this file. So I don't take an exception moving forward. I want to make sure that there are specific conditions in the resolution that says, if for some reason someone decided to start work without filing the map, which you can do, this application can't move forward.
Yeah, and the subdivision plat has to be signed by both the board chairperson and the board engineer, so if we're not meeting the conditions, I assume Ms. Bradley and Ms. Roma aren't going to sign the plat, so we're not going to be able to perfect it. So this would be a specific condition in the board resolution.
Yes, I'm putting it in 24-point font.
Luckily, you brought your laptop.
To go to discuss just some of the comments, to discuss the frontage along Brewers Bridge. I briefly mentioned the applicant seeks to maintain the access to Brewers Bridge to be used in order to be used for maintenance vehicles, and will improve the current dirt road with a 10-foot wide gravel path in order for there to be access for the vehicle from the Brewers Bridge roadway to the stormwater basin. There was a question regarding the recreation and open space area, regarding any anticipated activities. The applicant would be willing to place a, willing to place a play set within that area, a play set measuring, a typical play set measuring approximately 16 feet in width, 12 feet in depth, within the recreation area, closer to the Holden Court area. The remaining area would be used for ball playing, but the applicant would be willing to propose a play set within that area.
Through the chair.
Mr. Hyman?
What's the setback on that play area?
The applicant would keep that 15 feet off of the side setback line.
And the front yard?
This is the stormwater lot, so it would remain out of the front yard setback, but there is no single-family residence proposed, so there is no front yard, but the applicant would keep it beyond the front yard setback.
Thank you.
The board engineer referred to the NJDEP application. As mentioned previously, we have received a response recently. The LOI, there has been a determination of absence of wetlands. Additionally, the stormwater management lot and recreation area lot will be owned and maintained by a homeowners association that the applicant will be required to create. The proposed sidewalk, the applicant is willing to propose sidewalk along Holden Court on the subject property side of Holden Court, on the north side. As mentioned previously, the roadway improvements are mostly installed, including curbing. Sidewalk is not installed on the applicant on the north side, and the applicant will install sidewalk. The applicant will comply with comments regarding landscaping and tree removal. And regarding the circulation, the roadway is a roadway that was previously approved under a separate subdivision. The cul-de-sac is built to standard to provide for emergency vehicle, and the roadway has been constructed and is part of a separate application, not part of this application. That would conclude my direct testimony.
Any questions or comments?
And just the HOA you mentioned, the creation of the HOA, is that the same HOA that's going to be on the other side of Holden Court, or this is a separate HOA?
Separate.
Separate HOA.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for Mr. Alford? I'm sorry, Mr. Peters?
Thank you, Mr. Halper, for your testimony. You and I had an opportunity earlier this week to talk about the improvements being installed in Holden Court and the ability, upon signing the subdivision plat for this application, for the individual lots to obtain building permits without the completion of the Holden Court improvements. You recall that conversation?
Yes.
Have you discussed that with your client or with your attorney?
I discussed with the attorney.
So I didn't want to ask the question directly to Ms. Jennings, but I'm trying to figure out the solution to a problem that could come up. When we were here a year ago, we had maps that were dated 2023 that said that Holden Court improvements were being installed. Apparently, they're not completed. So these lots would be approved lots because we're going to verify that they front on a public right-of-way. So the board has the jurisdiction to subdivide the property and create new lots. My concern is that this applicant is not required to install those improvements. He's relying upon the developer of Holden Court on Lot 18 to install these improvements. And when this applicant applies for building permits, we now sort of take ourselves out of the municipal land use law and we put ourselves in the realm of the building department. And so if these roadway improvements don't get completed by the folks across the street, and these houses are finished and people are ready to move in, the building official is obligated under DCA regulations, not related to this board, but there's no recourse for Jackson Township or this developer if the Holden Court improvements aren't finished when these houses get built. So we've sort of left this ugly little loophole at the bottom of this. And I'm trying to figure out two things. One, if everyone understands what I'm talking about, and two, if there's an easy solution from the applicant for the board about when and how building permits can be submitted for these new lots, given that this applicant doesn't control the holding court improvements. So while these lots will be approved lots, pardon me, they will not front on an improved street. And so I don't know if they get caught at the zoning office. What I can tell you is that the municipal land use law doesn't mean a whole bunch in the building department. So once a building permit is issued for these houses, and these holding court improvements aren't finished, the building department has to issue them a CO for the house. So I don't know if anyone has any comments or suggestions regarding that possibility.
Well, I know when we've been before the planning board on a number of my school applications and road improvements had to be done, we were allowed to do building permits, but the CO would be held if the improvement was not completed off-site. So I would just recommend the same thing as a condition of the board's approval. We could not get a CO if
Well,
the road is not approved and accepted by the township. It's not a road. We don't have a way to have the people come in and out.
Okay, I like the idea, but I'm here to tell you that it has to be, the developer of the individual lots will not apply for a CO. Because the developer of the individual lots applies for a CO, the building official is not obligated to file. Quite frankly, the DCA says if you have all the stickers for the building, you have to issue a CO. Building department doesn't follow the municipal land use law. They follow the Department of Community Affairs. So that's a real, if the applicant says, well, we won't apply for a CO until the town's accepted the approvals, that's fine. But if they do, I'm here to tell you that the building official would have to issue the CO. It might be temporary. There might need to be some acknowledgement by the ultimate purchaser of the individual house. But this isn't a new thing that we've never had a problem with before. We've run across this before. So I'm just looking for a solution, not necessarily related perhaps to this subdivision application that's before you, but to the zoning officer or the building official who has to figure out at some point, are these approved, improved lots if this developer isn't responsible for the holding court improvements? I apologize for being a little too picky, but we've been told for 2 years that these improvements were being, and they're not finished yet. Yet these folks are going to rely upon the improvements for someone else across the street.
Ms. Jennings, would you accept that condition?
Yes, we would accept that condition.
I'm just going to go from an experience I had, it was similar to that. It was many years, you hear me now? Yes. Yeah, it was many years ago, and we were involved in something where we were ready to move in, streets weren't done, and we did get a temporary CO to reside there until the streets were done, and then we received the regular CO. That was in New York, so completely different than here. But something similar was done to accommodate the few people who had sold their home and had no place to go at that point. Another question, can the town ask them to post a bond in case the streets aren't completed?
It's not their project.
It's not even our property, so.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I
No,
didn't know.
so it would have to be.
But again, their reliance on someone else's improvements would require this board to reconcile that difference. We can't ask them to post bonds because they don't own the road.
Well, but let's stop, because the first condition we agreed to is that in order to perfect our subdivision, that filed and accepted cul-de-sac would come first. So we wouldn't even be in a situation where we actually had single-family lots until the cul-de-sac was accepted by the township. So I think you're already protected right there.
So you're saying you wouldn't start building until the public roadway was perfected? So I just wanna
No,
make sure I'm
filed and,
understanding.
yeah, basically it's going to be built. In order for the town to accept it, it's got to be built, and it is under construction. It just isn't, for whatever reason, their subdivision isn't perfected. I don't know what's going on right there. But they did start the road, which is kind of weird because the subdivision should have been accepted already if they started the roads.
None of this is confidence building.
Well, I was just gonna say, so,
And none of this wasn't discussed last September for the preliminary. We talked about it. Quite frankly, Ms. Jennings said it at the beginning, we don't know if it's filed yet. So a year later,
it's still not.
we don't know the status, and I don't think there's anyone's fault. we've never updated the maps to say, or the 200-foot property owner list, to see if it got filed. So sitting here tonight, we just don't know that answer, but we need the answer.
I think Ms. Jennings knows that answer.
I don't know the answer, no.
I thought you just said that it hadn't been filed.
I don't think it's been filed, but I don't know that with certainty. I mean, I didn't work on that application. But again, we've already agreed to a condition that our subdivision cannot be perfected until that other one is filed and accepted by the township.
So therefore, you would also accept the condition, just in the belt and suspenders spirit, that it would not apply for a temporary, conditional, or final CO until the town has accepted the Holden Court Road improvement.
We wouldn't even get to building before then, because we wouldn't have a real lot. So I couldn't sell the lot, right? Because it doesn't exist.
I
Right.
understood, just also looking for this condition.
Yes.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. Romeyer?
Yes, thank you. I would put on the record, I feel that the concern about Holden Court, with the conditions in place, the concern is satisfied. Specifically, if I'm not going to sign off on the plan during resolution compliance until that adjacent subdivision is filed, I feel the town is protected and those future residents. Just two other comments from engineering. Just want to point out there is that access road heading towards Brewers Bridge. I would suggest perhaps some type of signage, private property, so the public doesn't try and drive up there.
The applicant would agree.
And then, and then the township tax assessor will provide the block and lot numbers. I'd recommend that be a condition of approval.
Agreed.
And that's all I have at this time.
Any other additional questions for Mr. Halpert? We're going to
Yes,
go.
1 second.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Simon.
Just on that same road from Brewers Bridge, is there any lighting or fencing that'll be there?
Along the 30-foot frontage,
Either by the frontage or on the actual road? I mean, if it's an access road, too, is lighting required there?
typically, the intent of the access is access a 10-foot wide gravel access roadway for maintenance vehicles, which would only be during the day. The applicant wouldn't see the need to put lighting in. It's not meant for parking.
Okay, and as far as fencing, I think it would be beneficial if you just block it off that way. There's no illegal activities that can possibly go on there if it's not monitored. I think it would just be beneficial just to block it off.
To clarify, you're asking for a fence sort of at the front,
Correct. I just think it
at the
would be
front with a
beneficial.
gate?
Think it would be beneficial for the applicant and for the safety of the residents if you just put up some kind of even if it's just a 4-foot fence.
4-foot fence with a gate. The applicant would agree to that.
Thank you.
Sorry, Gina.
That's okay. I just want to piggyback off of what Mr. Hyman had said. Mr. Halpert, on the stormwater basin, on the, I guess, the rear side of it, you could say, it says proposed 3-foot wall. It says proposed chain link fence. Just because I'm a stickler for details, what's the proposed height for that?
That would be a 4-foot fence.
4 foot?
Any additional questions, Mr. Halpert? I'm going to go ahead and open it to the public at this time. Anyone wishing to ask Mr. Halpert any questions on the testimony he's given this evening can come forward at this time. Seeing no one come forward, I'm going to go ahead and close public session. Ms. Jennings, your next witness.
Yeah, at this time, I'd like to call up the professional planner, Andrew Janu, who will go through the bulk variances that are needed.
Good evening. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll give before this board is the truth and nothing but the truth? I do. And if you could, when your technical difficulties are resolved, if you could speak your name and your credentials.
Yes, I'm sorry. It's Andrew Janu, Janiw, with the firm of Beacon Planning and Consulting Services, 315 Highway 34, Colts Neck, New Jersey.
If you could, for the benefit of the board, please give your background and qualifications.
Certainly. I am a licensed professional planner in the state of New Jersey, as well as a member of the American Institute of Certified Planners. Been a principal in the firm of Beacon Planning for the past 27 years. Currently serving as the planner for Freehold Borough in Monmouth County, Carteret Borough in Middlesex County, Livingston Township in Essex County, as well as redevelopment consultant to South Amboy and Bayonne. In 2022, I was appointed to the State Board of Professional Planners by Governor Murphy, testified throughout the state of New Jersey, and I've been before this board on numerous occasions.
This board accepts your credentials. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Andrew, if you could just kind of walk us through the bulk variances. You were here and was our planner during the original application when we requested the D-density variance.
Yes. So if you recall, I testified previously on this application in September 2024, and that was memorialized by Resolution 2024. Oh, I'm sorry. You're as bad as me, huh? Yeah, I am. I'm sorry. That was memorialized by Resolution number 2024-53 on November 20th, 2024. That subdivision was granted with a D5 density variance with the creation of 4 single-family lots as well as a area for recreation and drainage. We're here to perfect that. We were granted preliminary subdivision approval at that time. My testimony at that time in support of the D1 variant, the D5 variance for density, was the fact that this property, and if we could put the aerial exhibit back up on the screen, was that you see the site is generally within the R3 district, but abuts the R1 district, and the southwest corner of the property is actually in the R1 district. The distinction that was described through your master plan at the time was that the R1 district was essentially set aside for properties that had access to water and, more importantly, sanitary sewer. The R3 requirements would be applied to lots that did not have access to public sewer because the larger lots would be required for the nitrogen dilution model. Essentially, with the construction of Holden Court and the forthcoming of the sanitary sewer line within Holden Court, we have access. The testimony from the engineer with respect to the approvals for that have been put on the record. And as such, the master plan recommended that once access was available to public sewer, that the R1 district standards could be applied. And I'll go into the 2025 master plan because that's brought up in that as well, but essentially that continues to hold forth. So the application this evening is to permit lots that are essentially consistent with the R1 district standards but are currently zoned in the R3, which is triggering the variances. Specifically, the R3 district requires 3 acres minimum lot area, whereas the R1 would require 1 acre. The lots that are proposed would be, and I'll read the proposed lot numbers. Lot 21.02 will contain 1.146 acres. Lot 21.03 will contain 1.049 acres. 21.04 will be 1.056 acres. 21.05 will be 1.023 acres. And finally, 21.06 will contain 1.266 acres. So all of the lots will have a minimum lot area of at least an acre. That's consistent with the R1 district. They are inconsistent with the R3. That is the variance that we are requesting. With respect to lot width, which is measured at the front setback, the R3 district requires 200 feet. The R1 district requires 150 feet. Lot 21.02, which is the basin and recreation lot, has 30 feet along Brewers Bridge and 50.81 feet along Holden. And again, that's the lot that is not going to be built upon, 21.03 will have a width of 150.01 feet.
21.04, 160 feet. 05 would be 188.93 feet. And then finally, 21.06 would be compliant with a width of 496.43 feet. Again, these don't meet the R3 standard, but do in fact meet the R1 district standards. With respect to the with lot frontage, all are compliant for the R3 district, which has a 100-foot minimum frontage requirement, but for the recreation and basin lot, which has 50.81 feet. With respect to lot depth, the R3 district requires a 400-foot depth, whereas the R1 district requires 200 feet. Going through the lots again, 02 would be 347.64 feet. 03 would be 291.56. 04 would be 263.75. 05 would be 200 feet, and in 06 would be 227.41. Again, they don't meet the requirements in the R3 district, but all meet the R1 standards. With respect to front setback, 80 feet is required for the R3, 40 feet is required for the R1 district. The only nonconformity would be on lot 06, which is the triangular lot at the end of the cul-de-sac. This would have a front yard setback of 6906. Again, not compliant with the R3 district, but compliant with the R1 district. And then finally, with respect to minimum side yard setbacks, the R3 district requires 50 feet to one side, whereas the R1 district requires 20 feet to one side. Lot 21.02 meets the 50, well, it essentially doesn't have any improvements on it. 2103 would be at 38.97. 04 would be at 43.52, and 06 would be at 34.56. And again, these deviations are from the R3 standards, but would be compliant with the R1 standards. So I talked a little bit about your master plan and my prior testimony. Your 2009 master plan with respect to the R3 district read, land use plan establishes rural residential planning districts to encompass residential areas outside of the sewer service area. 3-acre lots support and provide the appropriate nitrate dilution standards in order to be satisfied. With respect to the R1 district, it states, this planning district was established to replace the R3 district with a proposed sewer service area. 1-acre density selected to reflect prior development pattern and to ensure the efficient use of infrastructure, clustering recommended for larger lots without density incentive. So what the master plan talked about is how the R1 district was essentially created from the R3 district when sewer service became available. And that's essentially what's occurring here. Sewer service will be available upon the acceptance of Holden Court, and that is largely why the density variance was granted. The master plan also talked about achieving a mix of land uses and being consistent with the neighborhood pattern. Again, we have a new neighborhood pattern being established here with Holden Court. We are consistent with what's there. Those are all being developed to the R1 standard. It talks about encouraging the use of planning techniques that integrate residential neighborhoods, and that's in fact what's happening. It encourages infill development and redevelopment where appropriate, and reducing the extent of land development that maximizes the use of public facility investment, meaning taking advantage of existing infrastructure. And here we have a road that's being constructed with water and sewer that we will be able to take advantage of once that's accepted by Jackson Township. I mentioned the new master plan. So your new master plan was adopted in 2025. And again, it goes on to specifically discuss the R3 standards and suggested a clarification of the language, meaning it was somewhat clouded in terms of how the R1 and R3 interrelate with respect to sanitary sewer service, and it recommended a clarification of the language. But then on pages 57 through 59, there's a listing and a chart of recommended rezonings from districts other than the R1 to R1, where they are adjacent to the R1 district and where sewer service is available. And that's very much on point with what's occurring here. We are in the R3, R1 is across the road, future road from us, and we will have access to sanitary sewer. These are typical of the kind of recommended rezonings that are within your 2025 master plan. So I believe we're consistent with the pattern that was both in 2009 master plan and the 2025 master plan. As this board knows, variances are not granted for the sole benefit of the applicant as well. There has to be a public purpose. And those are listed within the municipal land use law. I believe there are 3 that are fostered by this application. E is to promote the establishment of appropriate population densities and concentrations that'll contribute to the well-beings of persons, neighborhood, communities, and the region, and the preservation of the environment. What we have occurring here is a development pattern that's been now established through the Holden Court subdivision, the roadway being put in, the R1 homes being put in across the street, access being provided to the other side of the street for sanitary sewer service. We are essentially consistent with the density that's been established for the neighborhood with the surrounding properties. You can see a lot of development within the R1 district around us. We are, I believe, establishing an appropriate population density based on the way the area is developing. G is to provide sufficient space in appropriate locations for a variety of agricultural, residential, recreational, commercial, and industrial uses and open space, both public and private, according to their respective environmental requirements. You heard the testimony from the engineer that there are no environmental restrictions on this property. There are no wetlands. An LOI is being issued. This is an appropriate location. It's been intended to be zoned for residential use. It will be utilized for single-family homes as anticipated within the zone plan, albeit at a density that's greater than the R3 district, however, found by this board to be appropriate in the previous application. And finally, to encourage the coordination of various public and private procedures and activities shaping land development with a view of lessening the cost of such development and to the more efficient use of land. Again, there's good fortune occurring here for this developer. The Holden Court is being constructed. Another subdivision across the street. We are going to be consistent with that pattern. We are consistent with the density that was approved for this property. We are going to take advantage of a roadway and infrastructure that's being put in place for this property, and we are creating the lot that the board had requested previously for recreation and drainage use. So I think it is a very efficient application, meets the requirements for the district, and it does shape land development that's consistent with the neighborhood pattern. So when we look at the public benefits, those are the 3 that I would put on record as being fostered by this application. And that brings us to the bulk variance relief. We are seeking C2 variance relief, which is the balance test. Under the balance test, we have to show that the application relates to a specific piece of property, and it does, and this property was previously approved with a preliminary subdivision and a density variance in order to bring us to this step. The purposes of the municipal land use law would be advanced by a deviation from the zoning ordinance requirements. I read 3 MLUL standards that I believe are being advanced. I'd also point out that consistent with your master plan, which discusses the distinguishment between R3 and R1, we are consistent with that in terms of now having access to public sewer. And finally, that the benefits of the deviation would outweigh any detriment. The benefits here are clearly establishing a development pattern and providing infill housing where it's appropriate, which brings us to the negative criteria, that the variance can be granted without substantial detriment to the public good, and that the variance will not substantially impair the intent and purpose of the zone plan. When we look at the substantial detriment to the public good, I typically look at what nuisances will be created here. Will there be untenable traffic, noise, garbage production, the like? We are proposing single-family homes at a density that's consistent with the R1 standards that was testified to and granted with that variance. All the things such as drainage and the like for the R1 district are anticipated when you look at that. We are creating something that would be consistent with the anticipated R1 standards within the zone plan. We're not creating anything that would become a nuisance. As a matter of fact, we will be essentially a mirror image of what's being constructed across from us. So when we look at the consistency, we note that we are going to meet the R1 standards, which your zone plan talks about being the replacement to the R3 when public sewer is available. So with respect to minimum lot area, minimum lot width, minimum lot frontage, minimum lot depth, front yard setbacks, side yard setbacks, every lot will be compliant with the R1 standards. We're not seeking any deviations from that. What we are and have been granted are deviations from the R3 standards because of the fact that we're now will be on a public road and will have access to public sewer. So with respect to the substantial detriment, I don't see any. With respect to consistency with your zone plan, both your 2009 and 2025 master plan talk about appropriate rezoning when sanitary sewer becomes available and you're adjacent to a similar zone, R1 in particular here. So I think when we look at this on balance, it's a strong application, and quite frankly, for the very same reasons the density and the preliminary subdivision were granted back in 2024, I would opine that those standards remain consistent. We are consistent with all the positive criteria here, and it's a good application.
Mr. Omar, Mr. Peters?
Mr. Jano, thank you for your testimony. There were no architectural plans provided with this submission, were there?
There were not.
Okay. But there are footprints shown on the building, footprints shown on the subdivision plans for the purposes of creating setback requirements, correct?
That's correct.
You had indicated that during the use variance testimony that these lots were similar to R1 design standards, correct?
That's correct.
We did not rezone the property to R1, correct?
That's correct.
I guess my question is while I take no exception to the lot dimension variances, as it relates to the setback variances, is there anything that precludes the developer from building a building, from constructing a building that fits within the required yard setbacks?
Yes. So I'm sure, Mr. Peters, you're familiar with the case of Price v. Himeji, which grants, essentially subsumes the bulk variances when a use variance is granted. It basically says when you're granting a use variance such as a D5 variance, clearly you're not going to be able to comply with all the standards from which you're deviating with respect to the use. So we are asking to deviate from the R3 standards, and we are using exemplary, the R1 standards, as that is the adjacent district. So essentially Price v. Himeji, which is an extensive case in terms of the rhetoric, says you can't anticipate the same standards for the R3 when you're looking at granting a density variance that's going to be a deviation. So we looked at the R1 standards, and we can comply with all the R1 standards, and I believe that's appropriate given what's going to be going on across the street and the fact that majority of this property is surrounded by the R1. So that is why I use that as the comparative for the bulk relief.
I'm not sure I agree with it as it relates to the setbacks, because
Well,
on three of the lots, you show a 65-foot wide building, and another one you show one that's specific to the 100th of a foot, 50-something feet. So I guess my question is it would appear on new lot 2103 that you'd have 52 foot of building width, and on proposed lot 2104, you'd have about 62 and a half feet of building width. I'm not sure why you couldn't build a building that's compliant. I would almost make your argument that the proposed lot 2106 is triangular in shape.
But compliant with what, Mr.?
Pardon?
Compliant with what? With what standard?
The R3 standards that are shown on the map.
This board found that the R3 wasn't the appropriate density and that smaller lots would be more appropriate here.
I don't
So
disagree.
so when
I
you
don't
look
think
at-
they agreed that the setbacks were going to
No,
change.
no, but what I'm saying is when you look at Price v. Himeji, the purpose of Price v. Himeji is saying when you're looking at granting a density variance in a smaller lot, you can't anticipate that you would apply the same standards as you would to a 1 acre lot for a 3 acre lot, because that's not what you've approved. You've said smaller lots are more appropriate here. So when we look to what the standards for the smaller lots are, we are proposing to be consistent with the adjacent zone, and we are compliant with the adjacent zone.
And again, I don't disagree as it relates to the lot dimensional variances.
But, Ms.
I disagree as it relates to the setback variances.
But
because-
you can't apply the same setbacks on a 1 acre lot as to a 3 acre lot, because essentially you would diminish the building envelope to something potentially that's not buildable. So you have to look at a different standard when you're saying this area is more appropriate for a smaller lot.
Thank you. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Mr. Romar, any questions or comments?
If the applicant can just clarify, are the footprints what the applicant is committing to as far as what dwellings are being constructed?
I think the answer is they're committing to whatever the setbacks of the R1 zone, and that just shows you what the envelope would be following the R1 zone requirements. Right? If they were to come in and have a footprint bigger, you're going to flag it for a variance. It's not consistent. We didn't ask for it. Okay.
Ms. Martins?
Yeah, a few questions. So you made the statement, and maybe I'm just not aware, that it has been ruled that it's appropriate, the density part,
Yes, we received the density variance in 2024.
in 2024 for this specific
Yes.
lot? Okay. The other thing, do we agree that the master plan basically says R1 if you have a sewer, R3 if you don't?
It's specifically stated in the master
Yeah,
plan.
the door. I don't know if our experts are familiar with the master plan, but you would agree with that statement. There's no other little caveat in there? You don't know, okay, okay.
I could tell you the 2025.
I mean, you read it to me, and that piece that you read, absolutely, I agree.
Yeah,
But
and I would point to you that in the 2025 master plan, I believe it's pages 57 through 59, there is a table of recommended zone changes. And there are numerous zone changes there from R3 and the LC zones
Right.
adjacent to the R1 that have available. And the recommended change is, let's zone these R1 because they have sanitary sewer and they're surrounded by R1.
Right, okay. I think that's all I have. Yeah, that's all I got right now.
Thank you.
Dr. Austin?
Just to change the subject on the architectural plans, are you're stating each home will have 10 bedrooms?
I believe that was the engineer's statement, but I believe the home plans will be submitted on plot plans when they're ready to go for
It says here
building.
in the report, that's what I'm reading. And it says 10 bedrooms plus basements.
That was a testimony of the engineer, correct?
Okay, will there be any basement apartments proposed?
I don't think so.
And I don't believe the basement apartments would be permitted in the district.
Well, would you make that part of the resolution that you will not have basement apartments?
Sure.
Okay. And will there be any basement, bedrooms in the basement at all? Or when the plans are submitted to building?
Well, that's going to be regulated by the parking, and I think the engineer testified that there was enough parking for the 10 bedrooms, so if you go to more bedrooms,
Yeah, and I would add to that we're not aware of how the bedrooms will be distributed within the home, but if they were to be placed in the bedroom, building code requires certain window wells and the like in order to provide appropriate egress and ingress for fire purposes. That, again, would be part of the plot plan, but I'm not aware of whether the basement will have bedrooms or not.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I just want to see if there are any questions. So I'm not trying to be the dead horse, so forgive me here.
No, that's quite all right.
Worst case, I'm going to be what Mr. Tremor called before the devil's advocate here. worst-case scenario, Holden Court falls apart. You're absolutely correct. You were granted a variance, the subdivision, 4 lots, right?
Right.
What happens if Holden Court falls apart? You were granted that because of the whole R3, R1 discussion and the
Right.
water
And-
access to sewer. But if
and
it falls
that-
apart, what happens?
Yeah, so that was a preliminary approval. We're now here for the final approval, and we're agreeing to a condition with the final approval that until you accept Holden Court and create that right-of-way, that we do not have those lots.
I guess I'm just uncomfortable because it just seems to be taking so long, this whole Holden Court, as Mr. Peters pointed out earlier when we were here last year. And Ms. Jennings can tell you I'm a bit of a nerd with my notes. That was a big contention during those, that was a big
Understood.
part of that discussion. So I'm just concerned, what happens if, and again, I was part of that vote and part of that approval, that we agreed because you would have access based on Holden Court to city sewer,
Right.
right, that we would approve that. So I'm just concerned now, what happens if?
Yeah,
And I
so-
understand what you're saying.
Yeah, so our lots wouldn't be created until that's accepted.
And look, in my opinion, the municipal land use law anticipates that things don't always happen on time, and that's why there's extensions to approval. So when you have a final subdivision approval, it's good for 2 years. You can go in for 3 one-year extensions. That's 5 years from now. They'd be protected for that long. So sometimes it takes that long, and then COVID hits, and then you get other extensions. So things happen in the building world, and we're just here seeking the approval from you, and you're going to have conditions on it, and we're not going to be able to move forward until we meet those conditions. It wouldn't be any different than if we couldn't get a DEP permit and get going. So it's very similar, and I think that's why there are those time extensions in the municipal land use law.
Any other questions or comments for this witness? I'm going to go ahead and open this to the public. Anyone wishing to come forward regarding Mr. Janu's testimony, please do so at this time.
Eric Jones, Heisen Road. The only question I would have is, I live on a narrow lot. My house was built in the 1930s. Now, I had to go for a variance because of what somebody had drawn up prior to probably me
Excuse
being
me, sir.
born.
Just because you're, in addition to thank you, do you affirm or swear that the testimony you will give before this board will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
But anyways, I had to go for a variance because of what somebody set up prior to me living there. So that was money out of pocket. Now, you're talking about R3 versus R1. What are these homeowners going to be stuck with if they have to go for like a fence? You're saying you got widths and stuff, okay?
Yeah.
My yard didn't make it, so I had to go for a variance if I wanted to put an addition on my
So
house.
how wide is your lot?
88 feet.
So these lots are 150 feet with 20-foot side yard setback.
Okay,
So
but
the building envelope will be 110 feet, which is larger than your lot.
Okay.
And that's where they can put anything
I
in terms of the
understand that, but
building.
what are the homeowners going to be beholden to, R3 or R1?
They'll be beholden to the standards that we've depicted here, which are consistent with the R1.
That doesn't make any sense.
We got a density variance, and we're
So
asking
you're
for the
changing
R1
this-
standards.
So you're changing the zone.
We already got the density variance, so we're allowed to do this many lots, and now we're just confirming what the bulk variances are going to be.
I understand all that, but what I'm trying to say is, okay, these houses are technically in an R3 zone.
Yes.
So you're just going for a variance so you can build R1 standards. But when the houses are done, what are the homeowners beholden to? R1?
R1 standards.
So they're no longer in an R3 zone
So,
without changing the
They'll
map.
be beholden to what we're depicting on the plot.
But you know what I'm saying?
yeah, so if with the variance, if the relief were granted, if the relief were granted.
Right.
And the variance was given, the variance runs with the land. So it would allow those homes to be built to whatever standard was approved in the resolution granting the variance.
Okay, I don't think you guys are getting what I'm
Just a
trying to
quick
lay
question.
down
So in
here.
other words, so
Yeah, I'm not
I
sure.
think I understand what you're asking, sir, I think, and please correct me if I'm
When
wrong.
everybody walks away
Right, everybody
and you're
walks
stuck
away
with this
the home.
house, what
Right.
zone am I in?
So now the zone is still zone 3, let's be abundantly clear. The
Okay.
zone is, yeah,
Yeah, she's on. Yeah, I
the
hear.
zone is still R3.
Right.
But I think your question is, if Lynn wanted to put up a fence on one of these 4 lots, what are my requirements? If I wanted to put a shed, what are my
Is
requirements?
it
I
R1
think
or
that is
R3?
the question is. Or a pool. What setbacks, what side yard,
That's
front
my
yard,
question.
what, that
I
is
don't
what
want somebody to
believe.
fall into the category
I
on.
think he's trying to ask, moving forward, past the development of the principal building, in 20 years, what standards are they going to be held to,
R3 or R1? That's the question.
regardless?
R3, I mean, the property is still.
Well, I'm
in
thinking
the-
as somebody that's going to be buying these houses, they should really know and have that presented to them. Even though you're in R3,
Well, but
your
fences and
standards
pools
are
are
R1.
general standards. They're not specific to a zone. So everybody can put up the same size fence no matter what zone you're in.
Well, I use fence, and I probably shouldn't have. What I should have said is a shed or a pool, when you talk about
Setbacks are different.
setbacks.
Right?
So they're
Am I
gonna be
correct? That's why
held
you're
to-
going for a variance, because setbacks are different? Setbacks from the front side, but if you're in an R3, the setbacks are different than an R1.
For anything that is not part of this application, that does not receive a variance, the standards remain the standards
I
in
think
the
you're,
zone,
if
which
you
is
do,
an
if they
R3
do
zone
something like this, I
currently.
think they're going to open up a can of worms for everybody in an R3 zone that wants R1 standards.
So we've had,
That's all.
so for example, in parts of Jackson, the zones have been changed. It may have been R1 when they purchased it 20 years ago,
Yeah.
and it was changed to R3. If they came to if they wanted to put a shed, it's the same situation. They're gonna be held, the standard is R3, but they can apply for a variance.
Yeah,
They
but you
would
shouldn't
to
have to
come
go through that. That's what I'm saying. If you're setting precedents right now by R1 for everything, but then the person moves in and all of a sudden they are on R3 standards. That's
It is
wrong.
beyond the power of this zone.
But I'm just
of
saying
this-
that's wrong.
Yeah, it's
You're-
beyond
you're-
the power of this board to
You're
change
doing all this
the
for a
zone.
builder, for the builder to R1 everything, and then the homeowner gets stuck with R3 results. That's wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, just so for the record, I think now it's clear what the question was, right? And the answer is, for any homeowner in the future wants to do anything in the property, they're gonna have to abide by the R3 rules, correct?
Correct, but when you
Okay,
say
because that's
abide-
different than,
Well, let's be clear. They are being held to the standard of an R3 zone. So in other words, like, if the side yard setback was, I'm making this up, 75 feet, that's what the standard is. If they couldn't meet that, they could come to the zoning board of adjustment for a variance. So I don't want to say they're held, do you understand what I'm saying? They have the
they're
right to
held
apply for a
as
variance.
anybody else, right?
Right.
Everybody has the,
Correct.
to come to a variance and.
Correct.
But
But, I
the
mean,
bottom is, they're gonna be held to that standard unless they require a variance.
Right, one of the functions of a zoning board is to grant variance relief from the requirements, but at the same time, it is beyond the jurisdiction or power of the board to actually change the zone.
Right.
Mr. Hyman?
Yes, thank you. So that being said, just an interesting thought. Would it make sense, I'm not, just possibly a recommendation for an applicant to request that kind of relief, meaning the standard request that we get from, when you have this kind of deviation in the zones would be for, let's say, a fence or a shed. Would it make sense for an applicant to request that?
The application would have to include the specific thing that was going to be constructed. It is not within the power of this board to say that for this property going forward that is located in the R3 zone, that R1 standards will always apply.
We
That is-
can't do that.
We cannot do that.
Correct, right. So what I was just saying is that standard things that we get those requests for are for sheds and for fences. I didn't hear any kind of testimony if they are proposing any fences between the lots or the like, but if they were, they sell it or they build it at some later point, then each individual homeowner would have to come in front of this board to request to put up a fence with that kind of setback.
Not a fence. We agree with you with the shed.
Anything,
Shed.
that was my fault.
Okay.
I said that when I was speaking, not a fence. I made that clear.
Okay, so it would just be in relation to like a shed? Okay, thank you.
Mr. Romano.
Thank you, Madam
Sorry.
Chair. Just for example, for a pool, a private residential pool, in the R3 zone, a rear yard setback of 25 feet is required. In the R1 zone, a rear yard setback of 15 feet is required. So the smaller lots, you could get closer to the property line. But if it's in the R3 zone, they would need to meet 25 feet.
Ms. Tumalo?
I'm just going to stand up because I hate that I can't see you guys. My comment, question, I know we stated earlier in the testimony that these are, I guess, general footprints of the buildings that you're requesting. It's not specific. We were not provided any architecturals. It's really hard for, I'm not going to speak for any of the other professionals, but myself as a zoning officer who does approve or deny your applications, to sit here and say that, so anything outside of this, you want us to look at something that you're not even concrete proposing? I'm sorry, please feel free to correct me. Something that you're not concrete proposing, you're asking the board and the professionals who are adding comment and questions. This isn't for sure what we're looking at. Because, for instance, Donna, you know very well how the questions I propose, and what I'm seeing a lot of exterior basement access ways, decks, front porches, rear decks, stairs, there's condensers, generators. So if the board so chooses, and please enlighten me, anybody, to move forward with this today, and we have no architecturals to even look at or make commentary on, how do we know?
So,
Are we saying that you're going to come back because
No, you
anything
don't-
outside of this is not considered R1 regulations?
no, so.
Is that what you were
we've
just saying,
given-
Gene?
We basically are asking for the standards, the minimum lot area of the R1, the minimum lot width, the minimum lot depth, minimum front yard setback, and minimum side yard setback, and that's the envelope we're showing you. So when they come in eventually for a building permit, they would be within that envelope and would not need a variance. If they went beyond, let's say, whatever they'd end up designing, the building footprint for some reason goes closer than 40 feet to the front yard, they'd have to come back for another variance for that particular lot. But you don't need to have architecturals to have a footprint and a building envelope. It's just basically the building envelope.
Maybe I'm just describing it wrong. I'm going to sit on that.
Anyone else wishing to come forward? Questions regarding this application for Mr. Janner's testimony? We're going to go ahead and close the public session on that. Do you have any other?
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry.
No, that's all our witnesses.
Questions, comments?
Just, if I may, just to go over the proposed conditions that were placed on the record. There was a representation that there would be compliance with the letters from the professionals, and then there were some specific conditions for the existing, that's where we go, okay. There is currently access from Brewers Bridge. That would be kept for a storm water recreation lot. The applicant would put in a gravel 10-foot access way for maintenance vehicles. It would be signed as private property, and a 4-foot fence and gate be placed at the entry. For the remainder of the lots, it would be accessible from Holden Court. I'm sorry. The recreation use would be accessible from Holden Court, It would be 15 feet from the side yard and outside the front yard setback for a play set, approximately 16 feet by 12 feet, and the remainder of the recreation area would be for ball playing. The stormwater recreation lot would be owned by an HOA specific to this development. Sidewalks along Holden Court on the north side would be installed by the applicant. The landscaping and tree removal comments of the planter would be complied with. Okay, so then as to the access issue, the developer of the individual lots would not apply for temporary, conditional, or final CO without the municipal acceptance of Holden Court as road improvement, and the filing of the subdivision map for this development would be contingent upon and could not be completed until there was a filing of a map for the Holden Court development, which demonstrated the utility connections being available and showing the easement and dedication of the public right-of-way, and that dedication being approved by the township. There is no right-of-way available, the approval would be void.
I just have one question. You mentioned about there's going to be a sign for the, saying private property, but then you said there was going to be a 4-foot fence at that entrance. I thought the 4-foot was around the stormwater basin, no?
I think that was both,
Oh. Both?
yes.
Okay.
Gene, one other thing, the no basement apartments.
Okay.
Mr. Martins?
Yeah. Just a comment, because I always like to explain why I'm going to vote the way I vote, so.
Oh, well, we're not quite there yet.
Okay.
I still have to open it back up to public session for any comments at this point. They were just specific to testimony. So we're going to go ahead. I'm sorry, before I do that, do you want to give a closing statement, or you wanted to wait to see if there's public comment? Okay.
I just have one little question.
Oh, sure. I'm sorry.
No, just, Gene mentioned on the playground that there'd be ball playing. Is that going to be impervious coverage, or is that just, a grass area? I mean, they said that there would be a play set,
Right.
and the rest was for like ball playing. Is that being asphalt, or is
No,
that
just we were leaving it grass.
Okay, thank you.
As a condition, perhaps we can have them show that on the plan.
And before I open it, I understood your explanation, Ms. Jennings, but we don't normally have, where we don't get some type of architectural. Can I just ask why? I'm just curious for my own knowledge here.
I don't think they have them actually designed.
Okay. Well, that's a valid reason. Okay. All right. So I'm going to, Gina?
On this. I apologize. So moving forward, because we're not changing the zone, and anything outside of this approval would then trigger a reason to come back to the board. And not that we necessarily need full architecturals, but an example, the board grants relief for the buildable area, as you used the term before, to be R1s. For lack of better terminology, where do we draw that line on when you have to come back to the board versus what is just allowed for me to sign off on?
Right, so it's,
And if that's the case, to take it a step further, what documentation is that, like, would that be filed in like a deed or something? Like how?
the resolution, so we've specifically asked for variances, and they're going to be listed in the
Yeah,
resolution.
Right, but I mean,
If I
just
may.
like,
And this is, look, I worked for a developer for years before I even became a lawyer. We did custom homes. We did subdivisions. We didn't know what
I
the houses
appreciate
were.
any knowledge, Donnie. You know, I'm
Yeah.
a big fan of you, and I'm just not understanding like where we draw the
Gene,
line.
if
on
I
moving
may, maybe
forward.
this is helpful.
Sure.
So we were talking about R1 standards, and there was testimony about R1 standards. But the variance is for specific numbers. The variance would not be that R1 standards are being applied.
Right.
The variance would be for the specific numbers that from, there would be the specific relief granted from the R3 standard.
Right, like we normally would on
Yeah.
other applications that we've seen. I'm stuck on that these footprints of the homes are not necessarily concrete moving forward, and our resolution may state that Lot 2103 is requesting, or the variance would state that it's sitting at 38.97, where a 50-foot side yard setback is required, but that's not definitely the footprint of that home. So they're just essentially tied to that 38.97 setback?
That is the maximum.
Okay. So moving forward, if it gets granted, I'm going off these specifically labeled setbacks. Concrete. Because it's not, I have no architecturals to go off of to sit there and give better detailed notes about things that we often see that are missed at this stage. Exterior basement walkouts, decks, porches, balconies, things of those
If
natures.
any
So
of
if we're
those
stuck to this,
things-
you may have to shrink the footprint of the home.
Correct.
To include, okay.
Correct.
Thank you. That is what I was, okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate everyone's patience.
I think we feel better now, thank you. All right, we're going to go ahead and, I'm sorry, Mr. Romar, did you want to say something? We're going to go ahead and open this to the public. Anyone wishing to come forward with questions or comments regarding the application at this time, please feel free to do so.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give before this board will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Jim Selecki, 6 Harfield Drive. I wasn't going to speak about anything until you kind of were going through all the pieces of the puzzle here, and something triggered in my brain. The fifth lot is only the piece coming in from Brewers Bridge, the water basin, and the play area.
Correct.
Okay. You stated you're going to put a private property sign up on the entrance to Brewers Bridge Road, correct?
They asked us to, so we agreed.
Okay. You then also state you're going to have an entranceway to the playground area off of whatever that, Holden Court. So the playground is technically on private property,
The homeowners association, correct.
but you're going to have an opening so that, and you already said, the homeowners association doesn't cover the lots across the street. So technically, anybody across the street cannot use that play area.
They're not supposed to, but I mean, I'm sure if nobody objected, they probably would all be playing there.
And then the other question, the other thought process is there anything protecting behind the play area to the water basin so that the kids don't use it as a...
Sir, I'm sorry, I can't hear you
I'm
at all.
sorry. My comment was, is there anything protecting from the water basin to the play area that will prevent
Yeah.
anybody from gathering around the water
Yeah, there's a
basin?
fence around the stormwater basin, 4 foot high.
The private property one, you just...
Sorry,
Do
you
I have to do it
remain,
again?
no, you remain under oath, but if you could say your name and address for the record.
Eric Jones, Hyson Road. My question is probably for Eric. Why another retention basin? What water is actually being captured in that retention basin, since being you don't have a road? Usually basins are produced to capture road water. I don't understand why there's another, is you capturing roof water, yard water? Or is that just something because it's a mathematical thing you have to?
A good question. The stormwater regulations require mitigating any runoff that is resultant from development. Development could mean, of course, putting in a roadway, which is obvious, but also taking down trees and adding grass. There is a difference. Trees absorb water more than grass will. So the requirements of the New Jersey stormwater regulations require mitigating due to the increase in runoff from the tree clearing, which we're trying to limit.
Okay,
but
I get that, but how's the water making it to that basin? Are there going to be like drains in people's
Oh,
yards?
there are, it is, the stormwater is designed and is reviewed. There are going to be some yard inlets.
Oh, okay. I just didn't know because you guys didn't plan actually for a road other than a developer next door.
This is separate. This stormwater management is unrelated to the stormwater management from the adjacent
Okay.
subdivision, and there is a conveyance system.
All right, so the other question is, the developer next door has already calculated his math for the basin that they already built.
Correct.
Now, if your houses are over here, the driveways are surely sloped to that side street. Do they have to recalculate?
We
You know
have
what
to
I'm saying?
provide,
You got pavement for the driveways. Naturally, the driveway is going to be pitched away from the home. Where is the water going? It's going into the street, which is not going into your basin. It's going into their basin, which is already mathematically calculated.
there are regulations covering the mitigation of runoff to make sure that we are decreasing it, and the calculations are required to be provided. So we're
Okay.
decreasing and following the rules with the grading and drainage
So
plan.
basically, this between the two of you, is your math is going to add up.
Yeah, yes, again, we're unrelated to the adjacent property, but we are
Okay,
completely
but I just
complying.
saw that saying, okay, now we got added driveways, added impervious type stuff, and then
And that's why we have the
now the math
stormwater.
is not going to add up for the guy next door. But I
we-
guess
we-
if you're working together, I hope you're working together, because
Well, you also
Jackson
have-
has become a very flooded area, that I think the more basins we have, the better off we are. Because that area that you guys are particularly in, many years ago, that was this much water. We're talking flooded, all the way around to Veterans and everything. Honky Tonk Ranch was flooded out, everything was flooded.
So we are actually
Okay.
decreasing the runoff. That is the intent.
Okay.
And, you know, the board engineer would have reviewed both our plan and their
Okay.
plan. So we do have somebody looking overall at everything.
Very good, all right.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to come forward?
I just one more question.
Yes.
Is the one lot with the play set, so that backs directly to the, I don't know if you want to call it a road, from Brewers Bridge, is that considered having two frontages? Or is that not considered a road? The gravel road that's running behind?
My understanding, it's a gravel access path.
So it's,
Mr. Romeyer, do you
so
have
it's not
a-
considered a road?
No, it's more like a driveway.
Public right-of-way, it's private drive access.
So it's
So
like
it
a
doesn't
driveway?
count as a frontage.
Perfect, thank you.
Sorry. I noticed on Google, like you said, Google Earth is a fabulous tool. But that little road that you have going through there, it appears that the neighbor is also using that road, the little driveway. So you're saying put a fence up at the beginning, but is there going to be a neighborly dispute because the guy that owned the property previous to the owner now had some kind of agreement, whether it be verbal or written, that he could use that driveway to gain access to his backyard? That's what it looked like, unless they were just using that for putting their swimming pool in.
Are you talking, I'm sorry, just so we understand.
Hold on, I know what he's saying.
Oh,
but-
okay.
Yeah, if you look at on Google Earth, you'll see a cutout from that dirt road halfway up into the guy's yard that is the neighbor to the left, which would be the north. So I'm
There is,
just-
this property is owned by this applicant.
Yeah, point at the thing up there.
The property currently has no access, no frontage on Holden Court,
Right, but I'm just saying that little back road, that little road.
This road is
Yeah.
providing access to the property.
Right,
So
but
it-
the guy in the triangle up top, he has a cutout from that road into his yard.
I actually, that property is owned by someone else who
But
has
that's what I'm saying,
separate access.
But did they have an agreement, a neighborly thing?
There's nothing in the title
You know what I'm
or in
saying?
the survey, so maybe
Okay.
he's used a friendly usage, but that
Right.
will cease.
Right, okay. I'm just saying neighborly disputes, you know.
Seeing no one else wish to come forward, we're going to go ahead and close public session at this time. Ms. Jennings, would you like to make a closing statement?
No, I just would say, I think with all of the conditions that the the applicant agreed to. I'm hopeful that the board is comfortable and will grant final approval and the variance is requested. Thank you.
Okay, board, it's up to us for discussion, comments?
We are going to stipulate no basement occupancy, right?
Correct.
I just have some comments.
I'm sorry?
I just have some comments. So I think, as you mentioned, with the conditions that were set, right, so this is final with conditions. I think those conditions do satisfy some of the concerns that were brought up, so I'm happy with that. My perspective was really more about the density, but that's been settled, right? You guys gotten the approval for it. This notion of going from an R3 to an R1, and I call it a notion because on the plan, it's still an R3. That was the rule, that was the rule. So it makes a lot of sense to me that when we look at the setbacks and everything else, we use the R1 standards, right? And I think you quoted case law on that. So yeah, so with all that said, basically is that I have nothing to say about the density because you got it approved. If time comes and needed, I'll be happy to say yes and make a motion to approve.
Was that a motion or?
No.
Just comments, okay. I'm just making
Yeah,
sure.
that happened to me last time. I'm not saying that.
Only because, I mean, we've seen it in other places. As soon as you make a motion and then you do a second, then all discussion has to stop and you have to vote. So I didn't want to do that. So
Mr. Hyman?
Thank you. I think that this is consistent with the master plan, as was explained. It satisfies the positive and negative criteria. I think the professionals presented well, and it satisfied any concerns that I had. Thank you.
Given all the things you've agreed to, my concerns with Holden Court have been addressed. At this point, I too would agree with Mr. Martin and Mr. Hyman. If we have to go to a vote, I would agree.
I would also agree. Everything's been said and everything's been approved by us, so.
Right, they've agreed to everything, they've agreed to everything, put it on the record, so at this point, I will go ahead and make a
I
motion.
make a motion to approve with the conditions stipulated in your laptop over there.
I'll second that.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Hyman?
Yes.
Mr. Martins?
Yes.
Mr. Tremor?
Yes.
Dr. Hofstein?
Yes.
Ms. Bradley?
Yes.
Make a motion to
Motion to,
I was just asking.
Motion to close?
motion to adjourn, all in favor?
Aye.
So I guess there was a second in there somewhere.
Second, yes.
Second, and aye, and approve.